ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Thursday, January 25th. I'm your host, Paul Swann. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. We're going to open up our text line this hour at 304-396-TALK. 304-396-8255. We've got two Marshall victories to talk about. We've also have some transfer portal news to get into. Tim Stevens is going to check in with us here in the next few minutes. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the women's basketball game with him as well. But earlier today, you might have seen the reports that Rochella Scott no longer on the roster. It was reported that she had entered the transfer portal. She'd only been in 6 games this season. Heck of a scorer, heck of a player. But she's no longer on the roster. I got that question a lot from people just passing by who go to both the men and women's games, and they'd ask me if I know anything or heard anything. Really wasn't much I could say, but she's no longer on the roster. So we'll talk to Tim Stevens a little bit more about that, also about the Marshall win last night. The Herd getting it done at JMU 77-70. They're 8-0 in league play. That's the best start. It ties the best start. Judy Sutherland. You have to go back to Judy's squad to get to a performance that good. So we'll get into all of that. And as I mentioned, we'll do the text line. We're going to talk about this men's game last night. The men win by the exact same score. Georgia State didn't help out, though. We were looking for the same score. We even had a texter say, hey, it's going to be the same score both games. They were so close. Absolutely close. And I was thinking about that when I was watching the game. I thought to myself, that texture's onto something here. This is going to be close. This is actually going to be the same score. And it was really close. And it was the same score at one point. I saw on the internet somebody had posted a screen grab at the exact same time. They were keeping an eye on the men's game and the women's game, and they posted a screen grab of the broadcast and showed the score at the same time. Thankfully, the good news is both teams won. That's what we are looking for. A victory for both teams, and we got it. And so the Thundering Herd back on the winning side. On the men's side, they are now closer to 500. They're 10-11. They're 5-3 in Sun Belt play. That's more important. But that was ugly to watch last night, was it not? Absolutely ugly to watch. Let's be honest. For a while, it didn't feel good. Not a single thing would have made that game any better to watch in that first half. Second half, it got a lot better. But in the first half, Marshall was just atrocious. 8 of 31 from the field, 26% there. 4 of 17 from the three-point line, 24% there. Free throws were okay, 9 of 14, but 8 of 31. Marshall didn't score for almost, 5 minutes, I believe? They just could not get a basket, and Georgia State wasn't much better. In the first half, they were 11 of 29. That's 38%. They were 3 of 12 from the three-point line. I almost thought I was watching Marshall play Marshall in that game. But things got better in the second half. Marshall outscored Georgia State 48-38. Marshall in the game, 32 points in the paint. I was happy to see that. 42 rebounds, out-rebounded Georgia State. I was happy there. Had 16 assists, only 8 for Georgia State. Here's the interesting number. Georgia State had 35 rebounds. 30 of them came on the defensive glass, only 5 offensive rebounds. Marshall had 13 offensive rebounds and 29 on the defensive glass. Georgia State wasn't going to win that game if they kept rebounding that poorly, and we saw what happened. Good performances from Obina and Chile Killen again, especially in the second half. Marshall really heated up in that second half. it was more of an entertaining game to watch. It still wasn't a fun game, but I heard that from a lot of you yesterday. Glad the Herd won, but this is ugly. This was not fun to watch. The only thing I can take away from the game last night is that the Herd won. Good crowd. Wednesday night, good crowd. 4,045. See, this show's a lot easier to do when the Herd wins. You're in a better mood. Marshall wins. You're a little happier about it. You'll take the good and the bad when Marshall wins. Marshall would have lost this game last night. Oh, this would have been a lot tougher to do. Post-game last night was even easier to do. Everyone was in a good mood. I appreciate everyone checking in last night. We had a fun time. We're going to do more of that. Tim Stevens is going to join us in the next few minutes, and we'll talk to him about the women. Then we'll get more into the men. And, of course, we'll hear from you. And, again, text line's 304-396-TALK. The reason I'm giving you that number is because we're going to give you an opportunity to win tickets to go see the Herd on Saturday, taking on Southern Miss. Now, we're going back to the Conference USA days. I love when Marshall plays Southern Miss. And you look at the attendance in the league, right now it's top 4 teams in attendance, the new schools or the newer schools, Marshall, JMU, Old Dominion, Southern Miss. Marshall got into a better football situation. Basketball situation, I'm not sure if it's a better situation, but at least we know that Marshall has potential to be among the top teams. Just got to clean things up. I know, using some Coach Huff terminology now. You got to clean that up. Got to close that gap. But it's true. It absolutely is true. So as we get ready to talk to Tim, I want you to think about a few things, and I want to hear from you. How'd we feel about Jacob Connor last night? How'd we feel about him running the show? How we feel about Nate Martin. Seems like Nate Martin was being put in better positions last night. Mr. Double-Double was back. I was happy to see that. So how we feel about that? Still work in progress. And, of course, Obina Anachili-Killen stepping up, especially in the second half. 9 of 16 from the field for 22 points. I expect that out of him every game. We got it last night. But we had close to 4 scorers in double digits. Kevon Boyles a point away. 4 of 11, but 9 points there. He was 1 of 3 from the three-point line. Didn't get any opportunity from the free throw line. Really, Marshall just 18 of 25 from the free throw line. Not that many opportunities there. Marshall had 13 fouls in the game. Georgia State, 19. So we'll break it all down further with you. But when we come back, I want to hear from Tim Stevens, so we're going to get him on the line. Tim's going to get us updated on everything that happened last night with the Marshall women. 8-0 in league play now. That is tying a best start for Thundering Herd women's basketball in league action. 77-70 victory. If only they could have kept them off the board for one basket, we could have had both scores 77-68. If they could have just kept them off the board for one score, that would have been fun to talk about today. So Tim's coming up next, and then we'll get your text in this hour, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Marshall still undefeated in women's play. Tim Stevens from HD Media when we continue on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930, streaming online at WRVC.com.
Hey, Tri-State, Frank's Place is where friends hang out with friends. Stop on by for happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. and a lot of daily specials. If you're a sports fan, we have what you need. From the NFL, NBA, NCAA basketball, to college football bowl games and the national championship. First responders, stop by Frank's Place and check out the specials we have for you. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check us out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, Place, your home away from home.
Stalwart Insurance is the name for insurance in the tri-state. They are committed to delivering tailored benefit solutions with thoughtful, strategic planning with valuable professional services. Stop by or call Stalwart Insurance for your homeowner's insurance needs. Stalwart Insurance is located right beside Kitty Queen Hardware on Route 10 in Barbersville. Call Stalwart Insurance anytime at 304-552-3883. That's 304-552-3883. Or visit them online at stalwartinsurance.com.
Start the new year off right with a Dakota Closet System on sale today at Menards. Dakota Closets can be used anywhere throughout your home. Perfect for walk-in or reach-in closets, pantries, laundry rooms, and more. Dakota Closets are available to take home today and install with just a screwdriver, giving you more time to organize. Design and take home your next project using You Create Closet Planner. Visit your local Menards or design online today.
Save big money at Menards.
Cut down on heating bills with a central boiler outdoor wood furnace. Heat multiple buildings, pools, and hot tubs, all with one furnace. And get unlimited hot water. Come to Altizer Farm Supply and see the central boiler outdoor wood furnaces at 585 Centerpoint Road in Thurman, Ohio. 740-245-5193.
In the tapestry of life, we encounter stories of legacy and accomplishment, but sometimes also abuse, neglect, or financial exploitation. Adult Protective Services understands the importance of safeguarding the well-being of our loved ones, our neighbors, and our community. To report neglect or abuse, call 800-352-6513. Sponsored by the Administration for Community Living, West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources, Bureau for Social Services, the West Virginia Broadcasters Association, and this station. This project was supported by the Administration for Community Living, ACL, and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, as part of a financial assistance award totaling $383,493, with 75% funded by ACL HHS and 25% in the amount of $85,236 funded by state government sources. The contents are those of the authors and do not necessarily represent the official views of nor an endorsement by ACL, HHS, or the U.S. government.
If you're looking to get a new car, you could really cut expenses by bundling your car and renter's insurance with Progressive. Sure, you love your old car, but you know it's not normal to give instructions on how to open the window. It should be self-explanatory, but it's not. And notice how when you're in other people's cars, you can feel cushion in the seats? That's pretty nice, right? No, it's just normal. So bundle your renter's and car insurance with Progressive and put the savings toward a new car. It's time. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We continue on with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line this hour is 304-396-TALK. That's 304-396-8255. I'm going to give you an opportunity to win 4 tickets to go see the Herd take on Southern Miss. That's coming up on Saturday. Our texter of the day always wins our ticket giveaway. So be a part of the show today and enter yourself in for a chance to win Herd basketball tickets. Tim Stevens is not eligible to win those tickets. He is on the phone now, and I'm sorry, Tim, you're credential media, so you don't get free tickets. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's the story of my life, isn't it?
You can walk in. You can just walk in. That's all you have to do. Just walk in with your credential and tell everyone that you're the 2023 National Sports Media Association Sports Writer of the Year, and they open the door for you. That's easy. That's all you have to do.
Yeah, it's the back door, and they tell me to keep going. You know, it's we do have fun there. We do. I mean, like I told you last time I was on, it's a pretty good gig if you can get it.
Tim Stevens, my guest. As I did mention, he is the reigning Sports Writer of the Year in the state of West Virginia, and he covers Marshall women's athletics, among other duties assigned for HD Media. And we've had a busy couple of days for women's basketball. The first thing we've got to talk about is, and I know you've got this question a lot from people, and you just really didn't have an answer for them. Rochella Scott no longer on the roster. It was reported on social media earlier today that she had entered the transfer portal. She hadn't been in a game since November 30th. She was averaging 21 points a contest, 6 appearances, 3 starts. She's not on the team anymore. A lot of people wondered why. You know, what are your insights into this?
Nobody has said anything definitive, of course, and Coach Caldwell, she says we're keeping that within the program. You hear scuttlebutt here, there, and that kind of thing, attitude or whatever it happened to be. Didn't fit in with what was being done with the new coaching staff, or whatever it happened to be, but it landed her in the doghouse, Rosella, and she started the first 3 games, played in the first 6. The last one was done at Moorhead, and she went 0 for 8 in that one. After that, she was on the end of the bench for a while. And then it looks like the second semester, maybe she's gone. And I saw on social media, too, that she has entered the transfer portal. I don't have anything that confirms that. And Marshall says they don't comment on kids entering the transfer portal and, that kind of stuff. But she, looking at the roster today, her name was no longer on there. So I'd say that's a pretty strong indication she's no longer part of the program.
Yeah, Marshall would have to probably start a new department to just field those questions for how many people enter the transfer portal. But that's the big indicator right there. She's no longer on the roster. It's out there on social media. She's entered the transfer portal. And you hate that for her because she's a talented player, and there's a lot of excitement surrounding the Marshall program. So you hate to see her go and not work out for her at Marshall.
Yeah, you do. She was a second-team all-conference pick last year and was a first-team preseason all-Sun Belt pick this year. Like you say, averaging 21 points a game. Great scorer. Yeah, maybe she was recruited here by Tony Kemper, who's now at Central Arkansas. Maybe she winds up down there. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I wish her well wherever she goes, and hope she has success. But man, it takes a lot of guts to bench your leading scorer, and that's what Kim Caldwell did, and they've gone 11-1 since then. That's the amazing part, that's incredible. You put an all-conference player on the bench for whatever reasons, and and they all know what it is, and you go 11-1 after that. Man, that says something right there. That really does.
Sends a tremendous message as well that this coach does not mess around. I thought we had that pretty well established when we initially met her, that, look, you get on the floor based on how well you performed the last game, and there are no ifs, ands, or buts. If you don't perform, you're sitting next to me, and if you did perform, you're going to be starting. And, of course, the way that she rotates her bench, that's really not an issue. She gives everybody just about a chance to play in the game the way she rotates. So I don't know how playing time is really an issue. I get it, players want to be out there 30, 35 minutes, but everybody gets an opportunity in this fun offense.
They do, and I was asking her about that last week. How do you convince a kid that's used to being on the court for 38 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever, wants to be on there for that long to come here, and they're they know they're going to come out. And she said, well, if you look at the stats and such, we actually get more opportunities in this system, the kid will, than if she just goes on the floor and stays on the floor. And if you look at the stats, that's pretty much true. And you look at Abby Beekman and Mason Hayes and Sydney Scott and all of those girls there, and the scoring is just very, very evenly distributed and such. And some kids might not like that, but this is, they all get their fair share of shots in this system because it's such fast paced, and the pressing defense creates so many turnovers. So really, they get more opportunities than maybe they would in a slower half court type system. So whatever she's doing, it's working, because they are really good and they're fun to watch.
Tim Stevens is with us from HD Media. He was covering the game last night between Marshall and JMU, and if the Herd could have only held them to one fewer basket, we would have had identical scores last night between the men's and women's basketball games, Tim.
Women had to mess it up, didn't they? I tell you what, that would have been fun. That's unusual. They got down by 14, the women did, and on the road at the preseason conference favorites, JMU, and come back to take an 18-point lead. Yeah, it's a 32-point swing. That's really hard to do, and then they win by 8. or by 7, I guess, by 7. Wow, what a comeback! They really, early in the season, I thought, okay, they're good, but they haven't played the upper echelon yet in Conference USA or Sun Belt. Then they beat Old Dominion by 30, at home. That was an impressive win. Now they go on the road and beat the preseason favorite JMU. You beat them on the road with a 32-point swing in the game. I think that has me convinced that Marshall might just well be the team to beat now in the Sun Belt. They have gone from hunter to hunted, from little dog to big dog.
It's funny you mentioned they were down 14 points, and I'm sitting next to your buddy, your friend and your pal, Dave Walsh.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and says, "Well, they're down by 14," and he looked serious. And I looked at him and Dave, they got him right where they want him. Don't worry. They got him right where they want him. And then he looked at me later, serious as well, dead serious, and he's like, "Yeah, you knew you were on something there." I mean, if you watch this women's team enough, if they don't get down early, that's when you get concerned.
It is. That's their mode of operation. So many games they've started slowly and trailed by double digits, and then they come back and win big usually too. So yeah, when they're behind by double-digit points, they've got the other team right where they want them.
You think she's sandbagging? You think coach is like, okay, let's just spot them 14?
We're going to just give the other team 14 points to start the game instead of falling behind that much, and then go from there from now on. I think. How's that sound?
It's fascinating to watch this team. They look terrible to begin, and then it's as if, okay, we figured them out now, let's go, and then they dominate the rest of the way. Now, to be fair, they had to earn that game in the fourth. It wasn't given to them, but they did have to work their way to get that lead, but they had to work on hanging on to it as well because JMU, not a slouch.
No, they went on a 11-point run of their own there to kind of make it close, semi-close at least. But yeah, that's I know Kim was stressing more about the slow starts early in the season. Now she talks more about finishing, because now they'll come back and they'll lead by 20 and then win by 7 or 8 or 10. And, she wants to see them finish a little more comfortably than what they are right now. So I think that's going to be the goal that they work on from here forward.
Tim Stevens is with us from HD Media, covers the Marshall women and other duties assigned to high school everywhere. What are your beats? I mean, can you target something specific? I know it's women's basketball, but you're everywhere. You're like the utility player for HD Media,
which I really like doing. I did Marshall football for so many years, and of course I did other stuff, but that was my primary beat then, and that was fun. But I also a lot of high schools, boys, girls, whatever, spring, winter, fall sports, all that kind of stuff. In my career, I've covered everything from Frisbee golf to the Major League All-Star game, the Heisman Trophy ceremony. It's a catch-all. It's a little bit of everything, but I like it like that. It doesn't get boring. It's a lot of fun, and you make a lot of friends in this business. It's fun to go all the various places and see the coaches and the fans and the scorekeepers and the people that you meet along the way through the years, and it's just a really good time. And you know how that is. You go out and you cover ball games too, and such. And so, my beat is varied, and that's how I like it.
Tim Stevens, as I mentioned earlier, the 2023 Sports Writer of the Year from the National Sports Media Association, state of West Virginia, covering the Thundering Herd. So last week, Abby Beeman had a tremendous performance. She didn't earn Sun Belt Player of the Week honors, but turns right around and earns a national award. She had a solid performance tonight. What have you seen out of her? 10 points, pretty good on a normal night for a player. For her, that's average. But what have you seen overall from her? What is she doing to really step up her game this year? And it already was a good game to begin with.
It was. Abby is so unselfish, and that helps the rest of the team so much. She's a great passer, for one thing. Obviously she can score. She's usually going to be somewhere between 10 and 22 points, and she'll get you 8 rebounds, and you'll look and she'll have 6 assists and 4 steals, and really stuffs the stat sheet. But the assists are the big thing. She's a huge reason why Meredith Mayer has developed as a shooter. Meredith was a strong shooter in high school. She came here as a freshman. She didn't shoot real well, 27% from three-point range last year. This year, Abby does a great job of feeding her the ball, pumping her up. Abby is a very positive influence, a great encouragement to the other players, and she just makes the people around her better. And, that gets kind of cliche. You hear that in sports, but it's true. That's not something that the stat sheet necessarily shows, is her influence on making the other players on that team better. She's really, really adept at that.
And I thought it was interesting last night. Usually you look at how many minutes each player has been on the court, and Brianna Campbell, Abby Beeman, and Aislinn Hayes, they get the majority of the minutes, 30 minutes plus, and then Sydney Scott had 24. Then everyone else had what I usually expect, just a well-balanced mix. That seems like that's her core 3 or core 4 going out there on a nightly basis.
Yeah, it is. And when Mahogany Matthews was healthy, she'd be in that mix too. But she has a hip injury right now and is out for a little while. And then they have such a deep bench. I mean, so many kids who can come in and play 6, 8, 10, 12 minutes. Peyton Ilderton comes in and hits 2 big threes, 6 points. She didn't play a whole lot, but man, when she did, she was very productive. And the fresh legs that team has, that wears on an opponent. It just absolutely wears them out because of the depth. And that's something that's really, really hard to do. And it's a credit because they didn't lose. They only lost one player who transferred somewhere else after Coach Caldwell came in. She did a good job of keeping the kids here that were here, and she gives credit to the previous staff for recruiting them and then supplementing them with some really, really strong players. So it's just an amazing team to watch. I think they're the hottest ticket in town right now.
Definitely getting a lot of people's attention. They had over 2,000 fans. I know you go back a ways with Marshall women's basketball during I don't want to call it the previous golden age, but there was a time where Marshall women's basketball was probably as hot of a ticket as men's basketball.
Yeah, they were really good. When Judy Southard came here and changed it to Lady Hurd from the Green Gals, and she had a lot of success in the Southern Conference, and Sarah Evans Moore built off that, and they went to the NCAA tournaments and such. There were some really strong teams then. But this one has a chance to be as good as any of them. They're really impressive, really, really impressive team, the way that they operate. Nothing seems to faze them. Like you said, they get down 14 points, and it's like nothing. Okay, we're down 14, and in 5 minutes we're going to be up 8. That seems to be what the attitude is.
They're now 8-0 in league play, and that ties a record. We go back to Judy Southard and her days as a head coach, and that ties a record with that squad. How far can this thing go? Can she stay undefeated in league play? I know that's a hard ask, but that seems to be where we're at right now. There might be a stumble here or there, as teams do, but how far can this thing go?
Yeah, if I'm a betting man, I'm betting that they lose 1 or 2 somewhere along the line, just because the odds are, and they still have some very good teams to play. It's hard to go undefeated in league play, and especially when you've been picked 9th in the league in the preseason. But yeah, I can easily see them still winning the league. 1 or 2 losses, it probably still wins it. But they're capable. Their potential is there to go undefeated in the league, and that'd be a heck of a story if they did. I mean, it's really hard to do. You play so many games; it's hard to be up all the time. The odds are you're going to have a night where the shots just don't fall, or things don't work out well. But then again, they were on the road a couple of weeks ago, and they were battling the flu, and they went 2-0 with the flu. So I wouldn't put anything past this team.
Tim Stevens is with me from HD Media. Up next for the women, they've got Georgia Southern. You're getting ready to follow that one as well. What have you seen from Georgia Southern? If you were a betting man, is this one that Marshall should easily win, or what are we expecting?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Georgia Southern has a pretty good record overall in league play. They're about 500, and maybe a shade over or shade under. One way or the other. I don't think they're quite in Marshall's class. Unless the herd goes down there and has one of those days I was just talking about, where shots don't drop, then it should be in really good shape. I think Marshall comes away with a 9th conference win and breaks Judy's record, which I'm sure Judy would be thrilled about that. Judy Southern, that is. So yeah, I expect them to go to Georgia Southern and win, and come back home on a roll and probably get some big crowds coming in. I know they have JMU again next week, so that could be a really good crowd, a great opportunity to see two excellent basketball teams play.
We got up to 2,000 plus for the Thundering Herd. Can we see 3,000, 4,000? What do you think? We can get 5,000 in the Cam to see a women's basketball game?
Yeah, it's possible. The way they're playing and the buzz about them, sure. Why not? There are a lot of men's programs in the country that don't draw 2,000 people to a game. And here the Marshall women are doing it. It's great basketball. It's fun to watch, and they execute so well, and the pace of play makes it fun. You're not going to get bored watching this team. The only thing that might delay it is if we have two games like we did last week where there are 800 fouls called. That was kind of slowed things down a mite and was frustrating. But other than that, there's not much that stops them. So yeah, for the entertainment dollar, it's a heck of a deal to go see them play. They're really good, and they're a fun team to cover, and they're nice kids, and there's really no downside to it. If you like basketball, they're worth seeing.
Tim Stevens, my guest. So before the next Marshall women's game, what do you got coming up?
Oh gosh, I've got the Reds caravan tomorrow out at the Huntington Mall, so I'll be out there for it, and then I have Spring Valley Cabell Midland girls tomorrow night after the caravan, so I'll have both of those. Have a Marshall story in the morning and some Ohio high school basketball. The RPI ratings are out. I'll have a story in about that. So lots of good stuff out there.
Let me know if Bill Cornwell's out there tomorrow. Just let me know.
I'll do it. I'll get it right to you.
Yeah, I want photos and everything. I just want to see. I want to see what kind of mixed gear he wears. If he's going to be wearing.
Yeah,
you know how he works. He'll have like a Marshall shirt and 4 or 5 other different teams, all different, like a different team hat, a different team shirt, a different team blazer or something. You know how he works.
Oh yeah, have a UK hat and a CK T-shirt and a Marshall jacket, and Billy's got all these bases covered.
He does. He's if your team's winning, he is your fan. I'm teasing, not really, but I'm teasing. Tim, thanks, buddy. I appreciate you doing it.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you, brother.
Tim Stevens from HD Media. We will get more of your text in coming up. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Working Man Store in Huntington. Check out the biggest inventory of scrubs in West Virginia, featuring brands such as Healing Hands, Dickies, Cherokee, and Med Couture at the best price. Working Man Store has one of the largest selections of big and tall shirts, jackets, and jeans in the area. Working Man Store is the king of blue jeans with Levi's, Dickies, Carhartt, Lee, and Wranglers in sizes up to 72. And Working Man Store has the best selection of men's work boots and casual shoes anywhere at the best price. Working Man Store, open every day at 140 5th Avenue, Huntington.
Get the tire that will see you through the cold and then some. The long-lasting all-season Michelin Cross Climate 2 tire, because winter doesn't last forever. Between 11:15 and 12:05, get $70 via reward card or virtual prepaid card after online submission with the purchase of 4 new Michelin passenger or light truck tires. $70 tire rebate on all tire lines, plus a $30 bonus rebate on Michelin winter tires only. See TikTok Tire, 3rd Avenue in Huntington, across from Jones C. Edwards Stadium. See www.michelinman.com/auto/deals-promotions-and-rebates for complete detail. Offer expires 12/5/23. Void where prohibited. Limited. Metro Community Federal Credit Union has been serving the Huntington community for 70 years and is proud to announce our newest location in Lavalette is now open. Wayne County residents, you now have access to a modern banking facility, a full range of services, advanced technology, expert financial advice, and even a smart coffee kiosk cafe. Learn more about Metro Community Federal Credit Union online at metrocommunityfcu.com or visit us today on 5th Street Road.
Equal housing lender, member NCUA.
Giovanni's has great Italian dishes. Spaghetti with meat sauce, lasagna, ravioli, manicotti, and baked lasagna. Giovanni's has the best sandwiches around, from the stromboli, Italian sub, calzones, and their signature Big Red. All dinners will be served with hot garlic bread or Italian rolls. Giovanni's Pizza, fresh, hot, and tasty. Have it delivered right to your door. Giovanni's, the Italian place to be.
Get the appliances you need right away at Lowe's. Explore the largest assortment of brands you trust, like Whirlpool, Samsung, and LG, in-store or online at the best values. Plus, take advantage of our everyday financing offers on top items, from refrigerators to laundry pairs. And there's more. Get your new appliances delivered or installed quickly at your convenience. Because Lowe's knows appliances, Lowe's knows home improvement. Subject to credit approval.
Stalwart Insurance is the name for insurance in the tri-state. They are committed to delivering tailored benefit solutions with thoughtful, strategic planning with valuable professional services. Stop by or call Stalwart Insurance for your homeowner's insurance needs. Stalwart Insurance is located right beside Kitty Queen Hardware on Route 10 in Barbersville. Call Stalwart Insurance anytime at 304-552-3883. That's 304-552-3883. Or visit them online at stalwartinsurance.com.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We carry on with this Thursday edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. My name is Paul Swann. I'm going to give you a chance to win my 4 tickets to the game on Saturday between Marshall and Southern Miss. And we're going to do that with our text line. We always take the texter of the day and give them the tickets. So if you want to get a shot at those, you got to text in now, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter says, Paul, if Coach Dan plays milk the clock, we are toast. I'm okay with that. If you got the lead and it's manageable, do you want to see the Herd risk it by trying to get cute, or do you want to see the Herd maybe play smart clock management toward the end? Yeah, I think each situation is going to be specific to the game, but I didn't have a problem with the way that the game ended up last night. Honestly, I was surprised that Georgia State didn't try to save some clock. I didn't see them try to foul much toward the end, and I was a little surprised by that, but I was also grateful because that kind of sped the game up. We didn't have to sit there for 4 or 5 minutes hoping that they would just get tired of fouling and Marshall would hit all those shots. But I'm okay with some clock management. I didn't have a problem with it last night, but I see where you're coming from. You want to see fast-paced, exciting, not conservative basketball. You want to see Marshall basketball. And that's the brand, right? That's the brand. Back to the text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I've got to put my administrator's hat on now. Texter wants to know if I know of any plans to increase radio coverage for women's basketball games. And Texter says they deserve more than just home coverage by WMUL. Now, let me remind everyone, WMUL is the student radio station at Marshall University, and the students are there for all the home games for the men and the women. Now, the women's team used to have road coverage. Just a few years ago, when the SIDs traveled more, Jason Corrier, who was Marshall's SID, and he also covered the women's side of the athletic department, he would go on the road with the basketball team, and he would broadcast the games back on WMUL. Now, I don't know what the future plans are, but that was what used to happen. Marshall would have someone go on the road with the team, and it was Jason, since he was in the SID department, and he covered the women. That's not a bad idea. You would need someone who could go on the road again if you're going to send that out with an SID. Maybe you're going to need someone to go on the road, or you're going to have to send a radio crew out. And some schools do it. There are some programs, and it doesn't matter the size of the school. Yeah, I've seen large programs, and I've seen programs that are comparable to Marshall send out radio crews to do those games. So I think it's just a matter of, is there going to be enough demand for this, and then how's that going to work? Where would those games be? Obviously, you would think, well, maybe the games would air right here. That's, of course, above my pay grade as far as all of those discussions and figuring out where that would happen. But I think for that to happen, there's going to have to be a demand for it. And if there is a demand for it, then you're going to have to figure out the logistics. And, of course, I would hope that WMUL would get to keep to do the games as well. They do a good job. It's a great training ground for broadcasters, and hopefully that will go on as well as having a broadcast crew there do the games on maybe a commercial radio station. But I don't know the answers to that right now. But if we're talking about it, that means there seems to be some interest out there for it. Back to the text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter is reminding me there's a swim meet on Saturday. Yeah. I believe it's senior day as well for the Thundering Herd. Can't forget about them. The Thundering Herd really putting a lot into the swimming and diving program at Marshall University. And it's going on Saturday. It's going to be against Toledo. So it's set for 10 a.m. So if you haven't been to the Henderson Center yet for a swim meet, you get a shot at it 10 a.m. And there's going to be 11 seniors honored prior to the meet, and that'll begin at 9:30 in the morning. So you want to get there early. And they haven't been in the pool for a couple of weeks. Looking forward to it. Marshall captured 13 wins in the 18 swimming events. And they faced off against Buffalo and Duquesne. It was a tri-meet. And they got 13 wins in the 18 events against those two. So congratulations to that program and what they're doing as well. Yeah, we don't talk much about it. And if you haven't noticed, they've really started to pay more attention, the athletic department, to some of these programs that maybe you don't see much about or you hear enough about. And if you weren't with us yesterday, we were talking about some of the facility upgrades that are going to be happening for some of the programs, and that includes something for golf. Golf really doesn't have a place of its own, doesn't have really a facility. You can go into the indoor all you want, but really they need more of their own facility, and there are plans in the works to make that happen. If you didn't hear that yesterday, go back and catch it on our podcast. You can do that at WRVC.com. Also, the show's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. We'll keep those texts coming in at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Marshall basketball with the win over Georgia State last night, 77-68. What'd you think? Did you like the newer look Thundering Herd, the tweaks? Do you think we're going to see more of Nate Martin being involved in the offense? 15 points, 13 rebounds. I totally am on board for more Nate Martin being a part of the offense. Your thoughts and your opportunity to win 4 tickets to go see the Herd take on Southern Miss. That is Saturday, and we'll do that when we continue on this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Hey, Tri-State. Frank's Place is where friends hang out with friends. Stop on by for happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. and a lot of daily specials. If you're a sports fan, we have what you need. From the NFL, NBA, NCAA basketball, to college football bowl games and the national championship. First responders, stop by Frank's Place and check out the specials we have for you. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check us out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
Stuck in a state of falling behind, struggling to keep up with kids, finances, insurance, and life? Well, let your State Farm agent help you simplify and get to a better state. With State Farm handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time to handle everything else. More money, too. Adding State Farm policies can earn discounts that could add up to 40% and help you get ahead. Call an agent today and get to a better state with State Farm. In Huntington, John Garton, 304-525-1116. In Barboursville, Marcia Slater, 304-736-6100. And in Cerrito, Aaron Billups, 304-453-4600.
Now is the time to add on a new bathroom or remodel your old one with the latest up-to-date bathroom fixtures from Mutual Wholesalers, 710 5th Street, Huntington. Come in today to Mutual Wholesalers' beautiful showroom and see how your new bathroom will look. Check out Acre by Max. Have a new bathroom this year. Mutual Wholesalers, locally owned and operated, 710 5th Street, Huntington. Call 304-525-9118.
Our Kindred Communications family of stations reminds you of the need for blood donations to the Red Cross. Blood is always needed. It may save your life or the life of a loved one. This reminder is brought to you in part by
the trauma surgeons at Marshall Surgery, online at marshallhealth.com/surgery. Loan Central, specializing in installment and mortgage loans. Tax preparation with 6 locations. The award-winning Buckeye Hills Career Center in Rio Grande, Ohio. Learn more about available programs at buckeyehills.net.
The more vulnerable among us can fall victim to abuse, neglect, and financial exploitation. When navigating your way out, it doesn't have to feel like a maze. Assistance is available from Adult Protective Services. To report neglect or abuse, call 800-352-6513. Sponsored by the Administration for Community Living, West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources Bureau for Social Services, the West Virginia Broadcasters Association, and this station.
This project was supported by the Administration for Community Living, ACL, and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, as part of a financial assistance award totaling $383,493, with 75% funded by ACL, HHS, and 25% in the amount of $85,236 funded by state government sources. The contents are those of the authors and do not necessarily represent the official views of, nor an endorsement by, ACL, HHS, or the U.S. government.
If you're looking to get a new car, you could really cut expenses by bundling your car and renter's insurance with Progressive. Sure, you love your old car, but you know it's not normal to give instructions on how to open the window. It should be self-explanatory, but it's not. And notice how when you're in other people's cars, you can feel cushion in the seats? That's pretty nice, right? No, it's just normal. So bundle your renter's and car insurance with Progressive and put the savings toward a new car. It's time. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Let's wrap this one up for today. Paul Swann, your host for The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We've been talking about Marshall's win over Georgia State last night, 77-68. Let's go back to the text line. Texter wants to talk a little bit about women's sports. We can go there. Says that I like the strides Marshall is taking with investing in the women's sports, notably softball, basketball, and soccer. Hopefully volleyball next. I don't know what else you can do with volleyball right now. I know they get the new playing surface, and that's something that desperately was needed. They've got access to the practice facility as well, the Skaggs family practice facility. So they get to take advantage of that. Basketball, both the men and the women get a chance to take advantage of that. So they've got that. And I think anything that happens in the Henderson Center facility-wise would directly impact them. I don't know what other resources that Ari Agnes needs, but hopefully we can get her back on here in the near future. It's been a while. She can tell us what they need as far as facility upgrades. I think right now she got an extension, so the university and the athletic department believe in her. And that means that there's some confidence there that she's going to be able to turn the volleyball program into a strong contender year in and year out. This is not an athletic department that will keep a coach around if there's no opportunity for success. I've seen that here now over the last few weeks and months. If there ultimately is not going to be an avenue towards success the way that the university wants it, Marshall's going to look for the next coach. Now, does that mean is it going to happen right away with football? I think the jury is still out on football, and, of course, with basketball, jury's still out as well. I'm just going to tell you that now before we get to those questions. Back to the text line. Texter wants to talk about the men's basketball broadcast. Says that Ott Elmore has been an insightful joy to listen to on commentary on ESPN+. When D'Antoni decides to hang it up, do any other fans want to see Ott as coach? All right, I'll open that up. Ott Elmore. Do you want to see Ott Elmore as a coach at Marshall University? Now, do you want to see him start out as an assistant coach, work his way up to head coach? I think that would be a little too drastic to start him off as the head coach, but maybe he could work his way into a coaching position. Of course, we're talking about a guy that has heard that for many years now, and the TBT. So he does have coaching experience, but does he have the coaching experience it would take to run the Marshall men's basketball program? But that's an interesting question. Would you like to see Ott Elmore take over as a head coach at Marshall University, or at least be a coach for a Division I program? Would Ott need to maybe start out somewhere else and then work his way back to Marshall? That would be interesting as well to see. You can give an assistant a first-time opportunity. I would think you'd have to build up his resume a little bit more before you would give him that chance. But I haven't had a chance really to listen too much to the broadcast. I'm focused more on the radio side, and I'm at the game for the men. And, of course, Ott and Mark Martin, they do the home games. They don't go on the road. There are times where I wish Mark Martin and Ott were on the road with the Thundering Herd, but that's not how the television broadcasts work out. Of course, thankfully, we've got Steve Cotton on the road covering all the games for us. And if you ever in need of catching a game, don't forget 93.7 The Dog, and most of the games here as well on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Okay, we're going to give away those tickets now. We've been giving you an opportunity to be a part of the program, and in return, we're going to enter you into our text of the day drawing. 4 tickets coming up. Stick by your phone, and if you don't hear from me right away, that doesn't mean you didn't win. 4 tickets coming up. Marshall taking on Southern Miss. That's Saturday, 4 o'clock tip. Don't forget that. 4 o'clock tip. The time has changed. Thanks to Tim Stevens for joining me tonight to talk about Marshall women's basketball. If you missed any part of that, you can go back later tonight and find it on our podcast. The best way to get that is to subscribe either through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever service that you use. You can also go to our website, wrvc.com. Also, if you are listening to us in the app, there's a podcast tab. As soon as it's updated, it'll be available for you there. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back with you tomorrow here, ESPN 94.1.
Retransmitting on Glorious FM on 94.1 W227BS Huntington. This is 930 WRVC Huntington, celebrating 100 years of broadcasting.